Welcome to Two Bitches in a Room podcast for episode 17. Thank you everyone for joining us. And today's episode, we're going to get into the topic. I feel like it's a hot topic, not just in this week, how you and I were talking right before we started recording, but you see it a lot on social media and stuff too, with ancestral cycles and like breaking ancestral cycles, ancestral karmic cycles, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, I think, I know for me, this has been a topic of conversation this last week and I feel like this could be too like attributed to just holiday season also, because when family gathers, issues arise. When
Always.
family
Yeah.
gathers, all of the things under the rug start to surface and people lose their shit.
Yeah.
So what's your take on ancestral cycles or ancestral karmic cycles?
Uh, I absolutely believe that a lot of people that are here right now are here to completely wipe clean um, a lot that has been just passed down generation to generation. Um, we've kind of talked about it in different episodes where I keep saying I'm here for this new generation. I love it
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because they
Yeah.
are really just ripping the dogma away and they're saying, I don't think so. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
carrying this anymore. I'm not doing this tradition. I'm not doing the things that have been done because I think they're ridiculous. So
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are doing that. They're looking at it. They're raising their kids differently,
Right,
or
right. Yeah.
approaching life differently. And I think some of them knowingly are doing it, and some of them have no idea.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I do feel like there's quite a few that I've noticed too, just in my own experience and my own conversations with people, is they're not even aware that they're part of that shift. They're part of that role. And I know they find it even more challenging because, like what they say is, like you're the black sheep of the family, you don't go against, but they find themselves asking why, even just with looking at things that they're not drawn to do, like those habits and traditions that don't make sense,
Hmm.
of just being that person to say, why is it that we do that way? What is the purpose of it? What does it truly serve? And how is that helping? Even with like raising your kids differently. I know personally I looked at that of, okay, what resonates with me and feels good that I want to continue forward, and what doesn't make sense to me,
Hmm.
and really what good is it doing to continue this cycle forward. I choose not to,
Yeah.
choose not to do that.
Right.
um and I find quite a bit of people lately are now coming to the realization that they are that person in their line making those changes. And it's been a lot of aha moments for a lot of people of, yeah, you get to choose different. And I also feel like it's been bringing up a lot of fear, because I feel like a lot of people like that have this fear that they're going to end up like so and so, like this.
Yes.
They're going to end up, right? And because I don't know why, and this is just the experience that I've had going through, if you've had the same, where they just adopt this belief that, oh, well, if, you know, so and so and so and so and so and the family is like that, I'm destined to be like that too. It runs in the
Right.
family.
Right.
Does it really? Does it really though?
Yeah. I personally do not believe that.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel like it's a choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have seen, actually, I have friends who are adopted and raised
Mm,
um, with people who have no genetic ties to them whatsoever, and they pick up on characteristics. I can see the
yeah.
characteristics that they have that are very similar to their parents with no bloodline whatsoever. They're adopted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I believe 100% that we make choices. We
Mm-hmm.
choose to adopt that. Now, don't get me wrong, as a child, if you're being modeled consistently a behavior, you're going to pick that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If your parent is abusive, I mean, statistically, that
Right, right,
happens. You may
right.
not even want it to happen. You may fight that from happening, but there's going to be characteristics that could come out. You could be short-tempered, maybe not abusive to your children,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
short-tempered, maybe
Mm-hmm.
abusive towards self or to other relationships.
Right.
Um, but it's very interesting to see how the human mind grapples with it and adopts it to be this must be fact. It must be genetic.
Mm-hmm.
If
Oh
somebody's an
gosh.
asshole, I
The
promise.
genetic thing.
Yeah. If somebody's an
That,
asshole, it's not genetic, it's a choice. Yeah.
right. It's a learned behavior. It's
Yeah.
learned, and you choose to carry it on and perpetuate it. And it's gonna come out. Like, I find that too, like what you were just talking about, one way or another, it shows itself.
Yeah.
Whether, like even with the abuse, whether it's, you may not be abusive towards your children or harsh, or stern or old school, whatever term you want to put on it, but you may internally self-sabotage all the time
Hmm.
because that energy is still present because you have to make that choice what you're going to do with it,
Right.
and I feel like right now I've noticed, I don't know about you, but I've noticed quite a bit of people going through this realization and stepping out of their comfort zone
Hmm.
and choosing different. And it's hard. And I know I've seen a wave of just individuals uh struggling with, I mean, they're doing it, but they're struggling because it's bringing up a lot of emotion. It's bringing up a lot of going against the grain and all of these
Sure.
things,
Yeah.
you know. And like I've telling all of them, it's always challenging in the beginning when you're stepping out and doing something different.
Yeah.
It's never gonna feel comfortable,
No,
you know.
no. I mean,
Complacency in your comfort zone is why a lot of people don't change and they choose to stay the same because it's comfortable. But when you want different, you have to do different. And when you are, it's at first it's super uncomfortable
mhm,
until you start to feel that that I just take it as like that refreshing energy and that encouragement and that shift, because your ancestors in spirit are all there with you, supporting you and your team and your God and everything. So you do get that. But in the beginning, yeah, you're going to question yourself 1,000 times.
I just had a conversation with a group of students of mine in regards to that. We were talking about how to embrace ancestors
Mm.
and have them work within your workings, how to work
Hmm.
with you. And, people were, giving their snapshots of their ancestry. And I said, I want you to keep in the back of your mind that your ancestors right now that are watching you, they're going, wow, she has it made. You mean you get to open the fridge and get your food? You mean you can call
Yeah.
somebody and they can come and bring your food?
Right. There's a contraption that you just
I
put
know.
in a box
Yeah,
and you push a button.
yeah. You mean you just press a button and you get heat?
Yeah.
You
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
burn and you get water? Like our ancestors are like celebrating that we have so much abundance that we take for granted every day,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And they're just like, wow, look at so and so, look at how great they're doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to keep that in the back of your mind, because I think a lot of times people are going, oh, I wish, I want, I wish I had, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What you have is a far cry from what our ancestors had, you know.
I know. Can you imagine? Like, if
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes, man, if we went back to the old, because we've talked about this before, and this is just a slightly bit off topic, but just the balance between that rooted living
Mhm.
and advancement, right? I feel
Yeah.
like as a collective, we are moving into this blend of rooted living
Yeah.
with advancement.
Yeah.
So humanity has forgot about their roots. So we're being reminded.
Yeah.
But I sit and think about that, of just like, can you imagine if advancement was just completely wiped out and we went 100% back to rooted?
Yeah.
God, and we'd have to actually work for our food and work for our
Yeah.
shelter and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh God, like
My
I would.
entire family thought my sister was completely nuts because she went to live in the hills
Mm,
in a log cabin that was built and by someone who really didn't know how to build one.
mm.
Her and her husband, and no electricity, no running water,
Completely off grid.
completely off grid. No phone, no nothing. And everybody is like, what are you doing? And she did
Hmm.
it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it taught her to a lot of self-reliance. Um, and like I always say at the, if anything happens, she'll be the last one standing,
Oh,
because
absolutely. Yeah.
she's been through it all, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? She
Absolutely.
knows. And yeah, so I think that when it comes to I think when people say let go of the wounds of our ancestors, let go of those wounds, hold on to the wisdom,
Oh,
you
that's a
know?
really good one. Yeah.
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 It
Like
is.
all of our ancestors. I'm sure somebody is going to talk about me one day, right?
Hmm.
They're going to be like, "Ooh, that girl." But hold on to the wisdom, right?
Right.
Right? We
Yeah.
all have flaws. So that's part of having a human existence.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of wisdom that I guarantee if you were to go through each and every ancestor that you have, they all have wisdom. All of them do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even the ones with lots of issues that you may perceive as issues.
Hmm.
Um, there's still wisdom to be had there. There really
Oh,
is.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that I take that in just as, I liken that to even just soul lesson experience.
Hmm.
You take something of value away that is empowerment for your soul moving forward.
Hmm.
Just like with the ancestors, it may seem, even if you had the one with all the issues, or the one basic one who didn't have much in life, there's still something that you take away of value that it brings to your table,
Sure.
you know. And I do agree, we do take that for granted. We take for granted how uh spoiled we all are. As you and I talking in two different locations
Yeah.
on a video screen,
Yeah.
it's we take these little things for granted in life. And I feel like, man, when you are that one that is coming into, because you chose to come into that line, you looked at that line when you were, flying around, frolicking in the spiritual wildflowers, and you were like, I'm going to do that one. I'm going to help that one.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's very challenging. And I find that through just observance of people, that they tend to be the ones with the most challenging roles in that family line. The outspoken, and and even just the ones that take in so much energy from everybody around them.
Right.
But, I feel like right now, maybe it's something to do with just the whole shift to altogether, but a lot of that stuff is drudging up for, and maybe coupled with holidays too, how
Mhm.
fun that can be. um Ancestral cycles and breaking, and just even acknowledging that what you're doing, even though it seems really small and minute to you at the time
Mhm.
and really insignificant, is making a ripple effect out that you have no idea,
Absolutely.
you know
Absolutely. There is something, I actually did a lot of training in it, and it's called constellation therapy. And it is an absolute therapeutic practice, and it's fantastic. And it's regarding your ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's highly controversial, because there will be a therapist who will sit with a person who is having an issue within their family.
Mm-hmm.
And then there will be people that will play the parts of each family member.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person who is having the issue observes the more or less reenactment of how
Mm-hmm.
these individuals, how they talk, how they are standing, what they are doing, what that energy looks like. Um, and I really recommend it for people who have any ancestral baggage, right? Because it makes you see it in a different way. When you're right
Mm-hmm.
in it, it's hard to see it. And when you see it from a third party perspective, like you're watching a movie, holy
Mm-hmm.
crap, it's totally different. It's
Oh yeah.
totally different.
Oh yeah.
And it gives you an opportunity to really see how you play your part in the matrix and
Yep.
how they are playing their part in your
Mm-hmm.
matrix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people believe this has been done to me and
Oh
not that
yes.
this was done for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really encourage you to look at all the things that your ancestors have done, and they may have been playing a part to teach you in your path. So
Mm-hmm.
you have the opportunity to achieve a soul lesson that you came here to do. If you came here and you wanted to learn unconditional love, you are not going to get that if you are rained love upon as a child. You need to be ignored. You need to learn to love thyself. So you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of examples in your life of people who don't love you. And
Mm-hmm.
your parents volunteered to play that role so you could learn that soul lesson.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard
Yeah.
to swallow for a lot.
that is super hard whenever I bring that point up.
Yeah.
Of I use like even just compassion, learning that. Are
Mhm.
you going to find that? How do you truly absorb the grit of the depths of a lesson if you are surrounded by everything that lesson shows you on the bright side of it,
Mhm.
right? And how do you truly learn something when you are in the grit of the opposite end, that adverse
Right.
experience?
Right.
Because the intention is for you to pull that out within self, and it ripples out after that everywhere else around you. But that is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow.
Mhm.
Especially when you think, again, with that, I didn't the famous line, I didn't choose to be here, I didn't choose to be born. I didn't choose. Well, yeah, you kind of did. You
Mhm.
you kind of sort of did.
Mhm.
And it's, if you want to learn love, absolutely, you're not going to be truly learn that unconditional love of the soul. You're not going to put yourself in a situation that's all loving, because what are you going to really take away from that,
Mhm.
you know? But man, that alone, even when people, I pose that perspective, well, they did this, that, and the other thing to me, and they caused that. But if you take it in a higher level, like a soul level, what are they teaching you?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
um, it's crazy, but that's a hard thing for people to understand,
it
and
is.
take, and they have to really sit with that. And I say, just sit with it, just let it marinate in your brain, just let yourself think about it, look at it from a bird's eye view,
Mhm.
and really have that intention of gaining that broader perspective of it, and
Mhm.
just let it marinate in your brain. That's
Mhm.
all. See
Yeah,
how you feel about it after. Give it a week. Just think about it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I I was speaking at a funeral. I'm ordained, so I was speaking at a funeral on behalf of an extended family member. And I remember it was packed. And I remember walking up to him and I said, wow, what a wonderful turnout for your mom. That's fantastic. Um, and I said, I don't even know half the people here,
Hmm.
because there were so many people. And he's like, oh, that's the other half of the family. We haven't talked to them in years. And I said, oh, I wonder why. And I already knew why, but I wanted to hear him
Hmm.
say it. Yeah.
Right, right.
And he's like, oh, there was a falling out, you know, between, my father and that part of the family. And I said, what a beautiful opportunity for you to heal that. You should go over and you should, say thank you so much for being here. What an
Hmm.
opportunity for you to heal that. And prior, I'm sorry, I left out the part where he's like, I don't even know why. I have no idea. And I'm
Hmm.
like, what a shame. What a missed opportunity. You should go over there and you have an opportunity to heal that. How
Hmm.
fantastic
Hmm.
would that be? How fantastic would it be at your mom's funeral that you can give the gift of healing that?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was like a light bulb went off in him. And, he went to his brother and his wife, and he's like, hey, more or less like, can you back me up? Let's go.
Right, right.
And it's just that one little thing can make a difference. And you can heal that for what? Half the people are walking around carrying a grudge from their ancestors. And they don't even freaking
Hmm.
know why. They're like, we don't like them. Why? I don't fucking know.
Right.
Don't, you know? It's like, no, you might want to rethink that. It's an opportunity. And it could be that one little thing, just that
Hmm.
one little thing that can make a massive shift and change, uh,
Hmm.
and begin that healing process, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people fail to realize how your ripple effect matters, and how even just the smallest thing, and even just taking, a a grudge within the family that you don't even know why, because it's been going on for so freaking long, and it just turns into something we carry over.
Sure.
That little act, just a thank you for coming,
Hmm.
can open the door and send that ripple effect out to
Hmm.
change that way, and maybe make amends in that area. Because especially like in that situation, at this point you don't even know what the hell it's about.
Yeah.
You know, who started what, and then at the end of the day, when it's that far in, does it really matter anymore?
Right.
That was the old. We have chance to make a new. People
Absolutely.
make decisions how they make decisions based off their perspective
Yeah.
of their experience. It's not yours.
Right.
So what are we holding on to? What are you
Yeah.
holding on to, and
Yeah.
why? Does it even matter? Because I think one part about it I think is very interesting is given even the circumstances, would that even resonate with you? Is that even your belief system in the first place? you
Yeah.
know like, is
Yeah.
it? So why do you perpetuate it?
Yeah.
So.
I think that's a very interesting notion. this is how I feel. And we've talked about this before, but I feel like my brain, like as a whole, there's like little areas, like little rooms, and it holds information, right? I want to wake up in the morning with nothing there, and then I can accumulate it. So I like to have that freedom of mental space. And I feel like when you hold any animosity, anger, pain, resentment, anything like that, if you hold that in your brain, you're holding that in your energy, and it's taking up unnecessary space.
Oh, absolutely.
You
Right.
know, so why do we want to carry that? Why
Right.
do
Right.
you even want to carry that? Because whoever you feel that way towards, they have no idea you're doing that. And it's actually stealing your energy and your peace. It's
Yep.
so much easier and freer to go, I'm not going to forget that those things happened,
Sure.
right? But I'm not going to let it take up mental space for me. Regardless, I'm not going to do that, whether you're carrying that on from the ancestors, or it's something you newly have acquired. It's just not worth it. It's just not
Yeah.
worth it. And I
Yeah.
guarantee all of your ancestors from a much broader space that they're at now, that they're encouraging to let that go. They are encouraging you
Oh,
to.
absolutely.
They
Yeah.
see how that poison, that really poisons the spirit. They, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I always think of the idea of, holding that energy is because that frequency is so low, and that vibration of those feelings are so low. It's just like allowing like mold to fester in your house,
absolutely.
because if you let it sit, it's going to grow. It's going to
Absolutely.
continue to show up. The universe is going to continuously give you examples, because that's part of what you're reflecting out, right? That's
Yeah.
part of the mirror.
Yeah.
And so, would you let that fester? If you think about it that way, would you still sit and let that, if you had a spot on your wall that was starting to mold and had this decrepit thing, you're just gonna like, yeah, we're just gonna ignore that.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
We're
would
just
you
gonna
do that in,
pretend like that
like,
isn't
that doesn't
there.
exist? I'm just gonna put a picture over it. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be good.
Why would, right, your energy, this is your home, this is your foundation while you were here, so why would you let the same thing happen here if you wouldn't let it in your actual space?
Absolutely.
So it
And
is, I feel, go ahead.
oh, no, no, no. I just feel it's important to acknowledge. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to acknowledge. First, you have to put yourself in that time frame and that space and that mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and try to see everybody's perspective. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
encourage you to do. Try to understand why things occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use alcoholism because that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be a big one. Um, why were they an alcoholic, and they caused such harm upon
Right, right.
generations?
Yeah.
They had really poor coping strategies,
Yep.
and it was a learned behavior from their parents who
Mm-hmm.
didn't exhibit good coping strategies.
Mm-hmm.
See how simple that is to make you
Yeah.
understand? And you can go from being angry to going, wow, I wish they had someone that modeled that better for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the anger's gone. And now you
Right.
have understanding. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. It doesn't mean you approve. It doesn't mean that you go, wow, what a great person. We're not saying that. We're saying we understand the human plight of that person's life. We understand that struggle, and I'm willing to let it go. And I'm willing to
Mm-hmm.
say, I choose differently.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the weight that will lift from your spirit is immense. Your vibration will have no choice but to raise.
Mm-hmm.
No choice but to raise. It's so freeing. So
Mm-hmm.
freeing, you
Yeah.
know? I remember having this conversation with a family member because they're like, Charlie, how do you always do that? How do you always like not give a shit? It's not that I don't give a shit. I do. I care, but I'm not going to let something affect me so viscerally that it harms me. I don't want to poison my spirit. I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
that. I
Yeah.
want joy. I want prosperity. I want peace. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to achieve that. And for me, it's much easier to go, I understand that the human experience is tough. And if it was me, I would have chosen differently, but it was you and it's your
Right, right,
path. And I understand. Maybe next time they'll choose differently,
right.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always, I like to um just even look at things of like, with especially in family lines and how there's all of those issues and all of those things that come up of, oh, that's interesting, because I always say, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, you ask, spirit will answer.
Oh, always.
If
Yeah.
you ask,
Yep.
spirit will answer.
Always.
And so if you just take that little notion and just look at it like, oh, that's interesting. Instead of judging,
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And what is behind that curtain there? Again, like even with the alcoholic reference, you know, they probably didn't have the coping mechanisms and the tools that you have, because at that time frame and all the stuff going on, that wasn't something that was openly discussed.
Right.
And from their parents to them and stuff like that, just like humanity evolves over time, so is the intention behind each line, and the awareness and the wisdom with each level, right, of generation. So instead of judging, maybe look at it as, okay, that's interesting, let's take a look at that. And
Yeah.
again, if you ask spirit, they will answer you.
Yeah.
So if you pose the question and you want to, again, that's interesting, take a look at behind the curtain, just put the judgment down for a second and just take a look at bird's eye perspective. It's so much more, again, that release, that understanding, that compassion. You make room for all of that to come in
Yeah.
when you let that judgment go and you put that down. And then, I feel like that too will kind of release the fear of, oh God, it's going to happen to me too.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't
Oh,
have to.
that happens a lot with people who have like their parents have mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people come to me who, I'm so scared I'm going to end up with this disorder or that disorder. And it's like, what makes you think that you too would have that?
Yeah.
You have a completely different life than your parent did.
Mm-hmm.
You have a completely different body than your parent, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I understand, and this is highly controversial. I understand the scientific community is going to start saying genetically and all this jazz. I don't agree with that. From a shamanic standpoint, my body has nothing to do with my parents because it's my spirit that controls my body.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put,
Yeah.
it's me that is deciding those things, especially when it comes to mental imbalances. It is your spirit that is choosing what path you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
Mm-hmm.
are constantly dwelling and worrying on a mental defect, don't you think you're drawing that energy to you?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that because it was, if that's, again, I understand the scientific perspective and the
Hmm.
genetics, and it's like this and that and the other thing, but
Sure.
also from a shamanic perspective too,
Hmm.
uh it it doesn't fully make sense in my brain when I'm also aware
Hmm.
that we choose what we are going to experience, and we
Hmm.
choose what we are going
Absolutely.
to have. And if our thoughts and our belief system is feeding the projector of our reality,
Mhm.
you know, that's your choice.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, oh God, I'm going to end up like, my mom who has this mental imbalance and all
Hmm.
that, and that's what you keep feeding into
Hmm.
your projector, then yeah, I'm sure it's just like looking around the corner for the monster every time. You're going to find
Yeah,
it because that's what you keep putting out there, you know?
absolutely.
Um,
And I think
so,
that there are people who, I'm going to use hoarding tendencies as an
mm,
example, that they can have children and their children, some could be hoarders because it's been modeled, the behavior has been modeled. And then there will be other children who will be vastly different because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to
mm-hmm,
ever. And they will completely change how their children are raised.
mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
has nothing to do. Like
Yeah.
my, there's no part of my brain that's being passed down to my kids. It is what they are choosing from what has been modeled to them, and they want to adopt their belief system. If you believe
Mm-hmm,
it, congratulations, it is your reality.
mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny you say like the hoarder thing. I just saw kind of a bunch of videos, like TikToks, about this, of why millennials, older millennials, and I think we're also classified Zennials, like between the Gen X and
You are.
millennial.
I'm
Yeah.
much older than you.
So like
I am
the
nowhere near that.
Zennial, like, we're Gen X, mix of Gen X and millennial, old millennial. But
Yeah.
these videos, which made me laugh because I didn't really think about it in this way, but with the hoarding topic of why we're so minimalist, and very, a majority of people, I should say, not everybody, but
Mhm.
there's a big bunch who are very minimalist and really, uptight about cleanliness and organization and all that stuff, because
Mhm.
then they flash to like pictures of your childhood, and then just like the kitchen counter is cluttered with stuff, there's shit piled everywhere, like the garage is overflowing.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yeah, that's right, like that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
because they refuse to have that hoarding, that accumulation, and just collecting things. So they're changing the
Yeah.
way that they do it. That's a
Yeah.
great, easy example of shifting something of that learned behavior, a product of your environment, kind of thing, is,
Absolutely.
yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Did you grow up with that, with all that stuff, everything everywhere? There's just so filled. And then now in your own space, you
Hmm.
can't have that. It just has to be clean, minimal, spacious, like breathable.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one easy example of changing something within that
Yeah.
lineage and moving forward,
It really is. And
So,
my office doesn't reflect that. I have everything you can imagine in here, but if you were to go into like the main living areas,
mm-hmm.
um, it's very wide open. I mean, we have an open floor plan. I designed it that way. I wanted it very
Mm-hmm.
spacious.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like maybe six things that are on my counter, and two of them
Yeah.
are coffee machines. So does that count?
Yeah, I'm
You
like,
know,
I can't stand,
but if you were,
I can't stand, I can't
yeah,
stand any, my counters have to be as little as possible
yeah,
and clear and clean,
yeah,
My office, another thing. Don't
yeah.
look at that.
But that's because I need to have a nice,
Right,
I
right.
believe in the energy and I don't want cluttered energy and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go to my daughter's house, literally from corner to corner, there's things like little tchotchkes and things and, kitchen things
Yeah.
everywhere. And that's proof, you get to decide. You
Mm-hmm.
choose, that's
Yeah.
all about you.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's
So
funny. I'm like, I walk into my oldest, not my oldest of the Brady Bunch, but the oldest one here. And oh, I can't. I walk out because I'm just like, I'm having flashbacks. I can't. It's just like your daughter,
yeah,
filled,
yeah,
filled to the
yeah.
brim, overflowing, and I'm just like, I can't. Ugh, I'm
She
claustrophobic.
loves she loves excess.
Mm-hmm.
She loves it. She
She's like a
thrives.
maximalist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she loves it,
yeah.
loves it, loves it. And I am um very much the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Other than my wardrobe, and we've kind of discussed that
Right, right.
before. Yeah, I might need an intervention there, but um, everything else I'm very, very, very like I don't want a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, my brain just works better without everything everywhere, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, and if you were to go to any of my ancestors' home that I have met, I'll be clear, uh,
Mm-hmm.
maximalists,
Yes.
all of them, everything you could possibly imagine was everywhere. My grandmother's home
Mm-hmm.
was like walking into one of those old antique stores. You know what I mean? There's
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you look,
It
just
was like
like,
just
ooh,
pathways
yeah.
to go through the house because it was everything was filled. Every space possible was filled
Yeah,
and sometimes overflowing with just
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with that. Majority of the ones that I have personally encountered
Uh-huh.
in this life all kind of carry that same theme
Yeah,
of way of life. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't breathe.
yeah. The vibe, man, it's a vibe. Uh,
Yeah.
but you have the choice. You have the
Mm-hmm.
choice. I think a lot of that comes from too. I think a lot of that comes from the feeling of lack. I will be without. I will not have
Yeah.
enough, you
Yeah.
know? And that's understandable. Again, if you can relate to that, if you can understand that, if you can put yourself in
Mm-hmm.
that position, you can go, oh,
Yep.
wow. I think I understand. I think I understand. And it'll, give you peace and
Mm-hmm.
dropping the judgment that comes along with it, that you're kind of confronted with your own sense of judgment when you kind of
Mm-hmm.
step into that energy, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Yep.
We don't know everything. We don't know what our ancestors have experienced or went through. There is family members that don't talk to each other because of passed down generationally hate or discourse, maybe is a better word. Um, it's passed down generationally bad habits, bad behavior,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
or perceived bad habits and behavior.
Yeah.
Um, and you have the opportunity to stop the cycle. You
Yep.
do. You can just say right now, you know what? I choose better and differently,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I've said this before in shamanism, we don't think of good or bad or, one way or another. It's simply a choice, and that choice is going to take you through a set of lessons. What lessons do you want to achieve in this life? Wouldn't it be
Mm-hmm.
cool? Wouldn't it be freaking awesome if when you transition, that you say, oh my gosh, look at what I have accomplished. Look at the wounds that I have healed. So my children and grandchildren and so forth
Mm-hmm.
don't have to bear that burden.
Mm-hmm.
Be the warrior in this lifetime. Be
Yep.
that warrior, be that change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like one time I accidentally went to a Kundalini yoga class. I thought it was
Accidentally.
I thought
Mm,
it was a full moon.
yeah.
It was advertised as a full moon meditation. And a friend of mine, we both went, and because we thought it was just a full moon ceremony thing.
Hmm.
I can't tell you if I really read the full thing, if it said, because I should have known just by looking up the place where it was, but I didn't, whatever. I was just like, yeah, sure. And so we walk in, and I'm just fresh off of work, so full face, like not even prepared, stuff like that. And that was a whole experience I endeavor to never go into again. the not it was a cool it was a It's a cool practice, it's an interesting practice,
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
Mhm.
Just I wasn't mentally or physically, because I just came off of work. I had
Uh-huh.
no workout stuff, full
Yeah.
face and everything.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared. If I was prepared, that would be different. But anyways, so it was, we
Were
both
you
kept looking at each
resembling
other.
the Joker when you were done with that?
Right. So my friend was like, we were looking at each other like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
happening? But we went with it. We rolled, we just went with it. We did everything. We followed along and all of that stuff. So it was cool. It was just me. I just wasn't prepared. Uh, because apparently I don't know how to fully read things. I was just like, full moon. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. So um anyways, uh there was one thing that I really, really liked, and it stuck with me from that experience. The I don't know what they're called, but the person leading on the stage,
Hmm.
when it came time to talk about whatever that full moon was attached to and things like that. But um, everyone in the room was reminded of healing generational stuff within yourself is that projection 7 forward and 7 back,
Hmm.
of when you heal yourself and choose differently, even with ancestral cycles, that ripple effect, 7 generations ahead of you and 7 generations behind you that have already, you ripple out that healing both ways. And I thought that was probably the reason spirit brought me there in the first place. Because that really was like, and this was years and years ago, way before anything. I was just starting to dabble in things. And that has always stuck with me. And I always tell people that, think about that. Think of the power of your ripple effect. You may not think that it really matters, or you're just doing something for your own peace or your kids, your nuclear family,
Hmm.
but that ripple effect, just by you making those changes and choosing different, goes out way further than you think. And it does so much. And that's why your ancestors, are all there supporting you and encouraging to do that,
Hmm.
because you're making a major change in that line, forwards and back, that you
Yep.
have no clue.
Yes.
So my best advice when going through this kind of stuff, just put the judgment down for a second and take that student seat and kind of look at it from a broader perspective, for that understanding of why they make those choices, because it is just a choice, and what's behind that curtain. And just keep that in the back of your head when you choose different, as hard as it may be at the time when you are making those changes. uh think of that ripple effect out. It's going 7 forward, 7 back. You're doing so much more than you recognize. And that is a beautiful thing.
It is.
So, yeah.
Yes. It is.
And maybe after the fact, you won't even pick up that judgment. You just leave it there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it. Well, I
yeah.
love this episode. I hope that this
Yes,
is super helpful. Yeah.
absolutely. I hope that whoever, whoever's watching this or listening to this, that you gained maybe a new perspective, maybe a new way of looking at things, and it resonates. As always, thank you everyone for joining us. If you found this helpful, or it resonates with you or somebody that you know, please like, share, and comment, share your experiences, share this out to those that, you know, in your circle that are going through this or having this topic come up. We appreciate the energetic exchange, as everything in this life, in this world, in this realm is a form of energy exchange. So yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate all of you, and I think we're good.
Yeah. Until next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.